from taking on the Washington football team. The football team coming in at 1-1, the Browns 1-1, and this is one of those games that if we hope to accomplish great things this year, needs to end up in the win column for the Browns. That's right. Yes. Yeah, this is a team that doesn't scare you. And we talked about the how. How does it look? This is a game where the defense should look very good. Now, we have to be fair with the latest, and we'll hear from Coach Stefanski later. Denzel Ward did not practice today. He left practice yesterday with that groin injury, did not practice today. And typically in the NFL, that's not a great sign. Added to the injury report midweek, don't practice Friday. That is typically not a path that leads one to be playing on Sunday, especially with a soft tissue injury. The good news is Money Mitch is playing great, and you're going to have Kevin Johnson back. But you still remain a little bit thin at cornerback if in the event that Denzel can't go. And why does this matter? Well, this team has a one-man wrecking crew on offense, and his name is very familiar to people in the great state of Ohio, Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's been sensational. You keep throwing out, it's what a great job by you to find the stat. 46.4% of their passing attack is insane. It's bonkers. And so he needs to be neutralized. And for the Browns, that's got to be priority one, because if you do that, this defense, if you can keep them into third and mid to third and long, focus in on McLaurin. I think you're going to have Ronnie Harrison playing dime backer a lot in some of those looks, covering Logan Thomas, the tight end. Get them off the field. They're the worst third down team in the NFL, 30%. Haskins is the worst quarterback in the NFL under pressure, 25% completions. They've given up 7 sacks so far. He's been sacked 7 times. That's the third most of any quarterback in the league. Get after him. And I think this is, how's it look? We needed the offense to look great against the Bengals. They did. We need the defense to look very good this week. I think they will, and I think the offense is going to continue. It's a great defensive front. There's no doubt about it. They wrecked week 1. That defensive front won the game for the football team in week 1 against the Eagles. Week 2 didn't have as much of an impact. They get boat raced. They don't win the turnover battle. They get boat raced by Arizona and Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It's there for you. The things that you do well should serve you well against a team that is on defensively is great up front, but then beyond that, very little. And it is a team that is very inconsistent in the passing game. You mentioned McLaurin. He's really the whole show. Dwayne is off to a bit of a tough start early on in his second season. Some of the same mistakes he was making in year 1, I see he's making still in year 2 in terms of standing in the pocket and driving the ball down the field. Those things just aren't happening at the clip that you'd want if you're a fan of the Washington football team. Now, some of that can be blamed on the fact that they've really done nothing to improve the talent around him. To our point and your point, it is a one-man show with McLaurin. But this is an act accordingly game. If you're a playoff team in the AFC, this is a must-win. This is a must-win and look right, and it's a must-win and have confidence heading into Dallas next week. And I know what you're saying. If you're out there saying, geez, we can't take anything for granted. We have not had a ton of success here over the last 2 decades. I'm not saying take it for granted. We're 2 guys on the radio just saying what it is. This team isn't doing that. But the reality is, if you aspire to be a playoff team in the AFC, you have to win this game. You have to win it looking right, and you have to have momentum going into Dallas next week. That's the job. That's the mission statement for Kevin Stefanski in this offense. You mentioned significant blow. There's no doubt. We know that Denzel, unfortunately, has a history with injuries, and so we've seen this in his first 2 NFL seasons, and now we could see it again in his third. It would be a real shame because he's been lights out to this point through camp. He's been there all the way through camp, and he's been great in the first 2 games, and it would be a tremendous loss if he loses any game time to this. But to your point, and I'm relatively new to this NFL thing in the last couple of years, just my 3rd season covering this team on a daily basis. But history tells us that on a Friday, if you're out, very rarely are you playing Sunday. Very rarely.
Especially if you went from a full on Wednesday to a limited on Thursday to an out on Friday. That's a trend line that is not great if you're the Browns and Denzel. And it was around this time last year, I want to say, that Denzel ended up hurt, because it was the game against the Rams, which was Week 3 Sunday Night Football, where you did not have Denzel or Greedy. Justin Burris had to be flown in basically to end up playing in that game. You lost a lot of people, and maybe it was even Week 2 that he started off being out against the Jets. So early in the season, we're seeing that soft tissue again with Denzel, and you don't want to have it. It's unfortunate. Because you're right, he's missed time now in all 3 seasons if he does in fact miss this game, and he's been playing at a high level, but he's one of your defensive cornerstones. I mean, you talk about this defense being built in the front and on the back. You know, the first 2 names you would mention are Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, and now you're not going to have, I would guess, I think it'll be a game time decision. We'll see when the injury report comes out later. We know Greedy won't be back this week, but you know, Kevin Johnson will be, so that's good. MJ Stewart has now had enough practice reps where I think he's going to kind of help alleviate what we saw, the issues we've been seeing in the slot. But you wanted to have Denzel back because your corners that you were supposed to have were Denzel, Greedy, Kevin Johnson, the slot, Money Mitch as a backup, and we haven't seen that trio together at any point. We haven't even seen Kevin Johnson or Greedy on the field yet this year. And now Money Mitch, you know, at no point have we had more than 2 of our top 4. And it's likely if Denzel's out, that's going to be the case again this week. And that's unfortunate because this to me was a confidence builder for the D. And it still can be, but you wanted Denzel to be a part of that.
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did. It's a big body blow if indeed it is the case. Denzel played 13 games his rookie season, just 12 last year. And so the potential to start to dig into the games lost in 2020, certainly looking that way with him being held out and being questionably listed. Mac Wilson listed as questionable as well for the game on Sunday. I saw Coach acknowledging that. Good news, though, Adrian Claiborne back at practice, so that's some very, very good news there. And you mentioned Greedy Williams out. Am I missing anybody else on the injury front?
No, we'll get the final word, but I don't believe you are. I think right now as I sit here and look at it, my expectations are for Kevin Johnson, Mac Wilson, Adrian Claiborne. Conklin's obviously back. My expectations for out are going to be Olivier Vernon, and then my expectation for Jacob Phillips, game time decision, leaning towards probably, unfortunately, more pessimistic than optimistic, is going to be Denzel Ward.
Yeah, and then Greedy obviously out.
Is out.
So that's kind of where you sit at this point, heading into the game against Washington on Sunday. You watched the game last night. I watched the game last night.
Yes.
This is it's really remarkable. I'm almost at a sports overload. There's so much stuff happening. The Indians on last night as they're making their run into the postseason, sweep the White Sox, trying to keep a little bit of an eye on that. Lakers and Nuggets was an incredible finish to that game where LeBron was awesome on Jamal Murray late in the fourth quarter to help ice that. Murray was sensational, just sensational in the game. But the Lakers improved to something like 54-0 when taking a lead into the fourth quarter, which is an incredible stat, the way they were able to strangle games away with Davis and LeBron, and they were able to do it and go up 3-1 there. And, of course, the Monday Nighter. And this was a pretty dreadful game if you did not have fantasy ties. I did, so I stuck around to the end for Robinson's second touchdown as I was hoping for him to get another one, put another one in the paint.
Yes.
He did so that's a big win out of him. Almost a 30-point night for him. So that was sweet.
He's on the team that I share with S. S was full on Stevie Wonder last night. Huh?
He was dismaying you? S was dismaying your play of Robinson?
No, we co-own a team, and he's
okay.
on our team. So S was beside himself
he
with
was
glee.
So excited.
Yeah.
Pure joy.
Yes, tough time seeing. Vision
was
tough.
I feel like with Jacksonville, whatever I say, folks, about them, do the opposite. Because every time I think that they're going to take a corner and a step, and I'm like, boy, that's an impressive couple of weeks, they play the way they played last night, where frankly on defense they just laid down. They were terrible defensively. Fitzmagic did whatever he wanted. What did he complete? His first 12 and ended up 18 to 20. Just incredible what he was able to do. They were able to run the ball with Gaskin. They were able to just gash him. Every time it was third down, it was, here's 12 yards. Take it. Have another. Yes, here's more. And they just got buried. And then Minshew, the one thing that he was trying to do so much down the field and catch up, almost something like he was trying to catch up from 3 touchdown deficits with every throw. You do see the physical limitations that we kind of always knew were there, and that's what this is going to be tough on them because he's enough of a gamer and he's so calm in the pocket and he knows what to do with the ball that my fear for them is they're going to win too many games to be able to draft Lawrence or Fields.
Yeah.
And that was the intent.
Right.
So, I feel like this could be kind of a bad spot, actually, for them. A little bit of like how Brian Hoyer was here. And because he's a bit of a gamer and he's able to scratch out some wins, you're not able to pick where you want to pick. And what are those wins worth?
What are they? Right.
In the end.
That's the question. And for them, not a team with playoff aspirations. But did you feel like last night, I felt like Minshew was pressing. I felt like he felt that game was maybe a referendum on if they need to pursue Lawrence and Fields or if Minshew is the guy for the long term. And he started off good, and then it just seemed like, to your point, once they started chasing a little bit, that he got out of doing the things that made him effective. All of a sudden, he was very inaccurate, and he had been his accuracy rate through the first 2 games at Pro Football Focus tied for first with Russell Wilson. That's how good he had been throwing the football, and this was his national stage. And I think not having DJ Chark, who is their number 1 receiver, probably didn't help the cause. But it was not his best performance by a long shot at a time when, that's when you're the only game in town, it gets magnified a little more. There are a few days to talk about. That's the only week 3 action to talk about. And so, not his best. James Robinson, though, tremendous. And it goes to show, again, running backs, if you have a good system and you can find a good running back, you can find them at seemingly anywhere, and they can go in and have success.
Illinois State. Jeez,
yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and he was great, and so and I think for Miami they're going to be in a similar spot with Fitzmagic of, what are we doing here? What are we trying to be?
When are we going to put Tua in?
Got Tua. Yeah, like you have Tua. At some point you're going to play him. He is the future. Like what good does an 18-20 out of Ryan Fitzpatrick do you long term on a Thursday night? Like, it's a slippery slope. If you want to build culture, you want to win. They've spent money, but at the same time, like, it really depends on Tua and what he is going forward. Because if they put Tua in there and they find out he's not the answer, they can flip in a hurry and draft a quarterback or go after one in free agency. Because it's a nice team when healthy. There are some nice pieces there in Miami.
Very nice pieces. I think you look at that team, and Devontae Parker is a nice piece. Preston Williams is a nice piece. Gesicki is a nice piece at tight end. They've got things. I would just, if I'm them at this point, though, what am I doing? Why am I not, unless it's physical, let Fitzmagic ride off into the sunset.
Which it could be.
On this game. It could be, right. They could say he's not yet ready. We're not ready to expose him to live action, to hits. But, I think for their team and their future, you want to play him. At the same time, they could easily say, hey, Bozo, what did the Chiefs do? Now, the Chiefs were in a different position. They were a playoff team with Alex Smith, but they did sit Mahomes that entire year for Alex Smith, knowing that they probably weren't going to win a Super Bowl with Alex Smith, but they could with Mahomes, and I guess what they have. So it's different in that the Fins aren't right there, but Tua is the I would think present and future.
He's all that matters is his development and making sure that you hit on him. I think that's really all that matters. And he's had those 2 injuries to the ankle, 2 surgeries on his ankle and the hip. So there's a lot there to deal with from a physical standpoint. But if he's healthy, I think you got to play him. But nevertheless, it was not much of a game. It was fun from a fantasy perspective to still have some guys in it. And Robinson with the late touchdown certainly justified it. Lots to get to on the program today. We'll do a little over-under fun with you. We'll be joined. Oh, my goodness, JC, our old friend. We haven't talked to him in so long. JC Tretter will join us on the program in the second hour as well. We'll get you a little fantasy advice from the good Dr. Z and the scores.
The scores. Pay attention. Scores. Oh, don't pay attention to yesterday's score. Silly. I don't even remember it.
Do the opposite.
Opposite of that. It's probably too late
Opposite of that. Do the opposite of it. Yeah.
Full-on damage control.
But we warned him.
Full-on damage control. Look at you guys.
Oh,
Nothing
who's that?
to see
You're not
over
even
here.
on the Zoom. You can't just hop on here just whenever you want with what
Yes,
you're
I
on the
can.
Zoom. I didn't even know you
Willy-nilly.
were in the room. Where
Watch
are
this.
you?
Watch this.
I didn't even know you were there.
Segura's trying to talk. Oh, wait. Oh, I turned down his mic.
Oh, no.
Nothing.
Oh, no.
Welcome to
Oh,
whatever
no.
I want to do Friday.
Listen, what I'd like to do
no.
before we go to break. But yesterday,
Gibbe running amok.
we apparently had 2 bad advices yesterday. Bad pieces of advice.
Yeah.
Number 1 was the scores last night. Forget about it. Number 2, remember we told Gibbe, just hop on whenever you want. Just hop on.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, and now
Look
look
what
at
we've
him,
done.
running amok. I would, before we go to break, though, like to bring attention to a tweet that I just received. I don't know. I know you don't follow me on social, but you were tagged in it.
I don't. Yeah.
So I responded to it,
Okay.
and you were tagged in the response. But Ryan Black, not all heroes
All right,
wear
let's see.
capes, Ryan. Not all heroes wear capes. Ryan Black tweets the following. Hey, at BGSU Gibbs, at Browns_Daily. It's me again, Ryan Black, with another mic question.
Oh,
at
okay.
Nathan
All right, very good.
Zegura
Let's
is
take it.
tapping his mic an awful lot on the air. Is it a memory issue or maybe a coordination issue
interesting.
with him? I only ask because I never hear Beau Bishop needing to mic tap or complaining about lights.
Oh.
And I
Interesting,
thought,
Ryan
I
Black.
said, Ryan, this is a great question, and I appreciate you shedding light on something that needs serious attention. Beau is not in the studio. His headset is always on. He knows this. I am in the studio. There's no on-air light, no illuminated buttons to let you know if you're on or not. So the only way to know with my mic
Wow.
is to tap it. The one button does not
tap
provide
it,
any
yeah.
feedback whatsoever. It's the only radio studio in the world that has this setup, which Gibbe loves. So like Happy
Gibbe
Gilmore,
loves it, yeah.
I have to taparoo, sad, hashtag, on light one day for CBD. And then I followed it up with this. The hope is, with every tap, we get Gibbe to break down and get us the on-off lights. It would be glorious. Ryan, today you have joined the side of goodness. You're being a part of the solution, and we applaud you.
It's more work than Zegura's done all day today.
I just wish we have the Zoom is not up because Gibby was working on one of his other jobs, so I can't even see his
I see
face.
steam
would love
coming
to
out of
see
his
y'all
ears.
an
That's what
invite.
I see.
I
Steam
sent
just
you an
like
invite. The room is open. Come in to party.
Oh,
come behind the velvet
Champagne
rope.
wishes,
Come on in.
kids.
Nothing to see here.
there we go.
Yeah,
Oh,
everybody's
my
in except
God,
for Zegura.
fantastic.
Well, I'm
I'm
like the
not
fish
in. I
on
don't
the
know.
outside.
I believe he's out flopping
Professional.
around.
Amateur.
We're such professionals
No,
that
no.
you had
I
a
didn't
who
say
morning to set up a Doom,
professionals.
and
I
you
said
did set it up,
professional,
and so we took
and
it
I
upon
said
ourselves.
amateur.
We FaceTimed ourselves.
Oh, there you
so
go.
that we could have our own Zoom. Guess what? Didn't need your Zoom.
Great.
Gibby running amok in the first block on a
the
football
best.
Friday is everything that I need.
It-
I love
oh,
it.
yeah.
What a perfectly timed tweet out of Ryan Black. I mean, that really
Ryan.
that's everything that you need to start
Yes.
on a Friday. You'll hear from Jarvis and Odell coming up next. A little over under coming up at the bottom of the hour. Off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily 850 ESPN Cleveland. Waste and Recycling, family owned and operated since 1932. They've been in business 87 years, keeping neighborhoods clean and green. Their customers, employees, and communities are all part of the family. Visit Rumpke.com to learn more. Very latest on Denzel Ward right now from Coach Stefanski. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, I think we listed him as questionable, Mary Kay, and that's exactly what he is. Obviously had something there with the groin, so we got a few hours here to see how he does, and then we'll make a determination before the game.
So you're still kind of hopeful that he can go?
Yeah, truly questionable. Yeah, I don't know.
And honestly, one thing we've learned from Coach at this point is even when he does know, he's not going to tell you.
That's right. Yes. It's not a great trend. Listen, and it could be something as simple as, look, he tweaked it a little bit. They want to give it some time to make sure it doesn't become anything, and he'll be ready to go on Sunday. I think it's probably, unfortunately, a little more likely that, they might err on the side of caution. This is a game you don't want to take for granted. That's the thing. Should be for this Browns defense a tune-up game. This should be a game where you are ready to go and you put on a dominant performance. Being down one of your top players does not help you in that regard, but you feel good about Kevin Johnson coming back. I still wish that we haven't seen what this defense is supposed to be. We're not going to. Grant Delpit was supposed to be a huge part of this defense. We're never going to see that in the 2020 season. So it's
even
unfortunate.
Even post Delpit, I don't know when we're going to see it. Even post. Take Delpit out of it. I don't know when you're going to see it. And this ain't good. I'll just, just follow the basic history on it. It's certainly not good. And what my concern immediately goes to your point, and this is you and I, not the way this team's viewing it, but this is a game you have to be able to take care of business. But next week's Dallas, and they've got 3 stud receivers.
Yep.
And you need everybody. You really need everybody back for that game in Big D. So hopefully we get healthy on that front. But I would say, you've followed the NFL long enough. You know what happens when guys don't practice on Fridays of games. It's very rare. Also, within the last 24 hours or so, we've had a chance to catch up with our receiving core. That means Jarvis and Odell. Let's hear from Jarvis Landry first.
Jarvis, you guys always want balance on.
You guys are down. This is 3.5 minutes.
This running game help the passing game.
It's very important. It's extremely important making sure those guys get their touches in the backfield. It creates a lot of room and a lot of space for us on the outside. Once those guys get going, and we can set up for the extra fake and do certain things on first and second down, which are typically run downs, and find ways to make plays down the field. But obviously, all of that coming from the running game.
We've seen some good 1-2 combinations out of backfields in the past, and I can't remember one. It's been a long time since we've seen one this good in Cleveland. What do those fresh legs that Kareem has mean when you guys are running Nick, and then suddenly he's in there and he can bust tackles just like Nick does?
Yeah, man, it's really the key to our offense. I think we all know what those two guys can do when the ball is in their hands, and the opportunities that they've been given, they've done the most with it. So I think for us, again, just continuing to know that our offense is going to run through those guys, and we have 2 weapons back there that pretty much can do the same thing. So it's great for our offense to have 2 guys like that.
Jarvis, just wondering. I mean, there's so many Pro Bowl skill players on this team. Obviously you, OBJ, Austin Hooper. But with you guys focusing, you're going to run this offense through the running game. How will you guys kind of handle the fact that there are going to be games like that you guys just might not each one of you every week is going to have 10 targets, 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. How do you guys reconcile that?
I think we always going to do what best fits, increases our chances of winning. Whether that's running the ball or passing the football or having a true balance. I think the strength of our team, right now has been our running game, and we want to continue to try to use that as much as possible. But I think we're smart enough to recognize when, the ball needs to be in the air and not on the ground. And we have a lot of unselfish guys in this building, and that's what it's going to take when you got a lot of Pro Bowl caliber players on one team to be unselfish and understand that when a ball comes your way, just take advantage of opportunities, whether it be, few or many. And I think that the guys in this building recognize that and are aware of that.
Hey Jarvis, good to see you. Now that you've been out there in real live game action for a couple weeks, how are you feeling physically?
Yeah, man, I'm still working through things, man. I'm still working through things and giving it my best, giving it my all when I'm out there. Obviously, whatever my 100% is on Sunday, that's what I'm giving. I think just for me, man, just continue to stay on top of the little things. Coming up about, I think about 7.5 months out of surgery right now. So the further I get away from surgery, the better I begin to feel. So, this is one of the things that, whatever comes up, I just got to figure out a way to.
Here we go, guys.
And approach it Sunday, and then where, like I said,
5 seconds.
Sunday, that's just where I'm at, and just go out there and give it my best.
You're up.
Man, I love that guy.
Oh,
Heart
so
and soul
much.
of the team.
Yes.
And hopefully, this week, and we can start to get him a little bit more involved, because all he does is catch everything that's thrown his way.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? Is that you're looking at this team and you're saying, man, we really, it was great. We got it going in week number 2. And yet here we are through 2 games, 9 targets for Jarvis Landry on the season, 6 targets for Austin Hooper on the season. So Jarvis and Austin Hooper have 15 combined targets. They have caught combined 12 of those 15 targets for 144 yards and no touchdowns. Odell's received 16 targets. Odell's got 16, and Jarvis and Hooper have received 15. Odell's got 7 catches. They have 12 catches. And I realize a lot of that's skewed by week 1 with Odell. Last week would have been much more in line with that. 6 targets, 4 catches, 70-plus, and a touch. But, Jarvis is averaging over 10 yards a target. 9 targets, 8 catches, 107 yards. Yet you've got to get him more involved. The truth is, as long as they're winning, I don't think it matters. When I talk to Jarvis, look, these guys know. They want their stats. They do, but they want to win more. Sure. And so if you're winning, it's all good. But I do think getting Jarvis more involved and getting Austin Hooper more involved is going to be very important for this team. Last week was a little bit of an anomaly. I think 23 attempts, that's on the low side. I still think this is a team that can throw it, 30 times a game. And then you add in 7 more targets, numbers even out a little bit more.
Basically, the average Cousins game last year was like 23 of 30 is basically where you're at. And I think when this team is what it's capable of being, that's probably where you want to be. Speaking of getting used to your numbers not being what they are based on what this offense is, here's Odell Beckham Jr. on that.
I think for me, one of my biggest
This is 90 seconds.
come in acceptance in a sense. And for me, knowing it's probably not going to be that kind of season. Like I always say, my goal is always going to be my goal. And I don't feel like I'm ever going to fall short of it. I think, like I said, learning acceptance. So you set new goals. Watching Jordan's documentary, having game within a game, working on a release during a run game or working something else. A new goal.
1 minute.
Aside from winning, always Nick Chubb needs to be the number 1 rusher in the league. Or Kareem too as well. You got 2 legitimate number 1 backs in the backfield. And our team is very, very, very good at running the football. So you have to play to your strength. And then I think you learn where you fit in and where you're able to make your plays and how you can help the team. I tell Chubb every day, I owe you. I want that
30.
big block that springs him free, just to see him running down the field, even though he's not going to give me any love after. He's not going to have much emotion about it. But just to see him running free and down the sideline is going to be a great feeling. So I think a lot of my growth came in acceptance of life, acceptance of things, and just know
10 seconds.
that that's what it's going to be, and finding a way to create that block that springs them or whatever it is to help us win.
All right, you're up.
Why do these comments not get any of the attention
I don't know.
of anything
They never
else he
do.
says? This is something that should be played. This should be on NFL Network. It should be on ESPN. It should be on every football show. The maturity and leadership on display from Odell Beckham Jr. here to say, look, this isn't the offense where we're going to throw it 600 times. I'm not going to get the targets of a DeAndre Hopkins or a Julio Jones, and I'm okay with that. I just want to help this team win. I want to make the block for Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. He's going to have to be incredibly efficient. We saw it last week. That's the way that he's going to put up good numbers, being incredibly efficient. He can do that, and he did. But these are the kind of comments from Odell Beckham Jr. that should be getting all of the attention, not the comments at all that people try to twist and misconstrue and then say, oh, he's the bad guy, he's selfish, he's this, that. This should be everywhere. And by the way, this comment was made yesterday. I watched 38 hours of NFL Network yesterday. Joe Thomas looking resplendent in that purple suit.
Boy, didn't he?
Boy, did he. Whoa. And yet there was no mention of this.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No. And yet somebody writes a column last week about how you got to trade Odell or Baker if you're going to go with Baker, and everybody talks about it for 20 minutes. He says this, and there's nothing. And this is what we've seen from him is this. So I think it's an incredibly mature thing because the consequences for him are substantial in not putting up numbers. I mean, the start of his career was a gold jacket career.
Yep.
And when you think about gold jackets, you either have to win Super Bowls or you have to accumulate statistically. And this is the type of offense where you're not going to do the accumulation of statistics. So that's something that's an incredible position for him to take. I love those guys, and I do think there's a way. And you think about, and I know that Stefanski wasn't coordinating this offense in 18, but you think what the Vikings did in 18, and there is a blueprint there for getting he was certainly a part of that offense. There was certainly a blueprint there in terms of what it could look like. We'll have a little fun up next. We'll go with a little over, a little under, a little Z versus Gibbe. Oh boy.
Ooh-ah. Ooh-ah.
So
Bring
much
it on,
fun.
Gibbe.
So much fun.
Listen, there's going to be
Shut up.
we're putting an on-off light on the line. If I win, we get a light.
Oh, okay.
Cleveland Browns Daily, 8:50 ESPN Cleveland. Beau here for my great friends at Raising Cane's. On game day, go for the win with Raising Cane's chicken fingers. Stack your roster with delicious, hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers and cane sauce. Hurry up with crispy, crinkle-cut fries, coleslaw, buttery Texas toast. If you ask them, they'll butter it on both sides and have both sides crispy for you. And top it all off with freshly made tea and lemonade. Visit the newest Raising Cane's on Brook Park Road in North Olmsted, right behind Great Northern Mall. Raising Cane's chicken fingers certainly is one love. All right, we've got a little over-under for you, a little game we like to play and call over-under, in which you will say over or under. So 2 weeks into this, we've got a real rivalry here between Z and Gibby that's playing out. Gibby was not involved in week 1, but did come in week 2, so the numbers don't match up for that reason. So through 2 weeks, Gibby, bit of a slow start, but the effort's good. 2-4 in your first run out at the over-under game. I sprung it on you last week. You weren't prepared.
I was set to host it.
You were going to host it. I threw you a curveball at the end.
It flipped.
I flipped it on you, and I said, you know what? I think I'll host it since I'm coming up with the numbers. So you go 2-4. The Z, kids, are you ready? Can I get a little drum roll? Brrr, brrr, brrr. 9-1. 9-1 for the Z-Man.
I'm sad that I have a blemish on the record, to be honest.
I relish
you missed,
that.
the only thing you missed was Mixon.
Joe.
Mixon was the only thing you missed.
Yeah.
Mixon last week. And it ended up being good in our favor.
That's right. I was happy to miss that one. I recall even saying I'm trying to reverse jinx this one.
Yeah, I think you probably did. In fact, you probably ought to be 10-0 just because you acknowledge that.
That's right.
If I'm to get out the pen and change things a little bit.
So basically, at this rate, I would have to go 8 weeks, 2 months, half of a football season to have as many wrong as Gibbe did in 1 week. That's the pace I'm on.
Manage your expectations and you'll never be disappointed, kids. That's where I'm at when it comes to my thing.
It's a good lesson for Uncle Gibby. All right, here you go. All right, Z, you're up first on this one. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Total combined rushing yards, 195.5.
Under. And listen, it would be great if it's over. That's a lot of rushing yards. 200 yards a game.
Well over 200 last week.
Last week, yes. The Ravens, with the benefit of Lamar Jackson, rushed for over 200 yards a game last year and set the NFL record for the most rushing yards in the history of the NFL in a single season.
It's a bad defense.
That is a tough,
be careful.
Be careful. Sledding. I'm going to take the under there and still feel very good about it. I still feel very good about their success.
Give it.
Under.
And I think this is the coming out party weekend for the tight end room.
We'll get to that.
Give him a bonus
point. Jump ahead.
If that happens, give him a bonus point.
Well, he's going to get to answer that directly here in a couple. Next one up. Over or under? Gibby first on this one. Passing yards for young Baker Mayfield. 222.2.
I'm going over. I think Baker's going to need to put the ball in the air a little bit more. I think you're going to have a beautiful fall day. It's going to be about 80 degrees and sunshiny.
Perfect.
I think that you're going to you might have to air it out a little bit to open up those running lanes in the second half.
Dr. Z?
So in my mind, I like to do this when you're going through it and see. And my number was going to be 225.5. He would not have gone over your 222.5 in either of the first 2 games. So that is on one level, it's a little concerning. However, I'm looking up the football team. I'm sorry, the old F team.
You don't have time to do all of this. We're on a clock here.
I'm going to say he's going to go
Not
over.
on Zegura's clock.
I think this is the over. So far, quarterbacks, by the way, 278 yards a game against the football team.
All right. Landry and Hooper, greater than or less than receptions versus Beckham and Bryant. Zegura.
Landry and Hooper's combined receptions, no minus, just even, straight up, versus Beckham and Bryant.
Straight up.
Give me Landry and Hooper.
Gibbe?
Same.
Ooh, Gibbe.
Same.
All right.
Can't beat them.
This is one of my favorite ones.
These are good. These are inspiring.
Total combined sacks, interceptions, fumbles caused and created by the Browns defense, 5.2. sacks, fumbles, interceptions.
I'm going to go under. I'm going under.
See?
Boy, this one's going to
Tricky
come back and
play.
bite
This is
me.
a
I hope
tricky
this
play.
one comes
It's a
back and bites
tricky
me. But
play.
if I'm correct,
All right.
we don't have an interception yet.
And
in
Haskins
2020?
has not thrown one. You are correct.
Yeah. I
We've
will take
recovered
the
a
under.
fumble in each game, though. We have forced and recovered a fumble in each game. I'm going to go over here. And this was one you did last week, and I believe it was the same
I did.
total, and we ended up at 4, and I went under last week. I'm going to go over this week because their line is decimated. I do think before this game, the football team, even with Brandon Scherf in the lineup and potentially Morgan Moses, we don't know what his status is, they were giving up 3.5 sacks a game as it was. So I'm going to take – my number was going to be 5, to be honest. I was really hoping you were going to set it at 4.5. So
Of course you were.
you made it a little bit tougher.
5.2.
Because now I need to get to 6, which is a lot of sacks and turnovers, but I'm still going to go over. I feel like this is going to be – I've called it the tune-up game. This is me trying to will it to happen. 5, I think, is the right number, though. I'll also say that. So if I hit that right on the head, we can go ahead and you can pat my back while I take the loss.
You'll get nothing. You'll get nothing and like it.
Give me a blow.
All right. Dwayne Haskins passing yards. 200.2. Zegura.
Over. I think that they don't run the ball, and they're averaging 277 total yards per game. So
His passing yards average on the season are right at that, 200.5. It's his average
over.
game.
I'll take that. That's where we've struggled at this moment.
Yeah, I'm definitely going over. He's got to have a monster day for them to have a chance to win.
McLaurin receiving yards. Gibbe, 95.5. You'd got to be over if you guys are saying he's over on 200.
Yeah, it's over.
No, it doesn't. First of all, erroneous, not true. And I'm going to say under. I think in his 2 games, he had 1 over, 1 under. I think that we're going to focus all of our attention on him. I think he's going to end up at 80 yards. I think you're going to get probably 50 out of Logan Thomas. You're going to get another 50 out of Sims and Inman, which is at 180, and maybe they're going to try to get the backs more involved this week, and that's going to get him about 217 passing yards.
Last one. Total points scored in the game. Over under 45.5.
Go ahead, Gibby.
Total
I think you're
points,
first,
45 points. I was checking to see Bill Callahan's at the
45.5.
podium. I didn't know if we wanted to take him or not.
Over.
How could that be more important than this?
I agree. Scrap it. We're staying with this. Because then we got fantasy news with Zegura, and that's
We'll
sponsored.
just roll
That's
right
all.
into fantasy here.
Yeah,
We'll go
that's all
right to
sponsored,
53.
too.
Everybody wins.
45.5 total points. I will go over.
What are the scores
Actually,
total?
no. Reneged. 45.5, 32. Yeah, I'm going over. Never mind. I suck. Sorry.
Over. Z, did you go over?
I went over. What's the actual total? Do you know? Offhand?
That is.
That is the actual total.
That is.
Okay.
Yep. That's one that's legit. The rest of them I made up. That one is legit. All right. Zenith is as committed to athletes as they are to the game. Zenith helmets designed with an uncompromised attention to fit, feel, style, and safety. Learn more at zenith.com. That is zenith.com. Time for a little fantasy advice from the good Dr. Z, brought to you by our good friends at Tito's Handmade Vodka. My officially endorsed Tito's Handmade Vodka cocktail of the day is going to be Tito's and pineapple juice.
Oh.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Wow.
That's a great call.
You're welcome.
Pineapple juice is
Just
good
off the
with
whim.
anything.
I didn't even know Tito's was in here. Just off the whim. I got cocktails at the ready. What do you need?
You know what? It's 80 degrees. It's still reminiscent of summer. Maybe a little
Sure.
Tito's iced tea and lemonade. I know where you can get iced tea and lemonade. Chicken fingers. Bring some Tito's to that party. Now we're talking.
And away you go. By the way, perfect ice, too. Perfect ice at Cane's. Always is a perfect ice. Good job out of you. All right.
Thank you.
3 guys who you love this week. 1 at quarterback, 1 at running back, 1 at receiver, and 3 guys you despise, you hate, you can't stand them. You like to throw them out in the trash. They're the worst people in the history of the world. You're so negative about them, you can't even stand it or live with yourself or be able to sleep at night. Go.
I don't believe in negativity. I'm not going to engage in that kind of negativity. My favorite quarterback this week, though, honestly, is Dak Prescott. Seattle on the season is giving up 423 yards passing per game They have not stopped anybody. A far cry from the Legion of Boom days going on in the Pacific Northwest. So Dak, I think, is a great one. And if you need a sleeper, you're desperate for some reason, Mitch Trubisky. What? Are you saying that out loud? Sure. The Falcons giving up 40 fantasy points, 40 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. So Mitch Trubisky, going to give him a little bit of a nod there. By the way, I wish we could go back to Mr. Robinson because, boy, wasn't he great last night. And we were right. We were all over that guy. But we can't. We're going to move on. Running back position. I'll give you two guys from the same team. Austin Eckler's been disappointing. Not this week. Josh Kelly, he leads all rookies in carries. Start him this week. Both going against Carolina. They've already allowed 5 running back touchdowns in 2 weeks. So there you go with that one. Thank you. You are welcome. Receivers, it makes sense. I told you Dak, so certainly CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper. You're probably going to go with those guys anyway. This is one that's a little bit more of a surprise in the sense that the Minnesota Vikings, that was a team that you didn't put up a lot of points on, but this year struggling, wide receivers having their way with them. So when you look for a good matchup, that's one of the teams you're going to look at. Corey Davis. A.J. Brown looks like he's still out. Corey Davis, right off the waiver wire, right into your lineups. An excellent play for you this week. And then Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson's been spectacular. 23 targets on the season. Had a big game last week. They love him in Pittsburgh. It just continues their streak. We told you last week to play him in this very segment. He went off, I think, 80 and a touch, something like that. I think he does it again. So there are some guys for you on the offensive side of the ball to get in. I'm not going to get negativity, so what I'm going to do is give you a bonus tight end this week. I don't believe in negativity. I won't do it. I don't like it.
Thrive on enthusiasm.
I totally,
idea, man.
Absolutely. I'll give you another 2 for special. Cincinnati Bengals, they've struggled with tight ends. You got Zach Ertz, you got Dallas Goedert with Jalen Reagor out. Both of those guys are going to get a lot of targets. Goddard actually has more targets on the year than Ertz. Both of them solid starts for your team. Get them in there. Let's go.
Any matchups of guys who normally would start? I love them. I'd like to get an apartment with them filled with rich mahogany. But this week, I think maybe stay away for a week. Any of those, maybe?
Let's see. From a quarterback standpoint this week, in terms of people that you would normally be thrusting into your lineups, but this week maybe you're going, I might pump the brakes a little bit. Here's one that might surprise you. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers has the kind of game that he has had early in the season this week. So I don't think he's going to blow up. I'm going to sit Aaron Rodgers this week, and I'm also going to be sitting Drew Brees against that Green Bay defense. So 2 future Hall of Famers. There you go. That's it, though. No more negativity. Not doing it.
No more negativity, yeah.
No more.
You think Mixon gets going this week a little bit?
You hope so. I thought he was on his way.
Right?
I thought he was on his way.
Slow starter last year, too.
He had 40 receiving yards, I think, in the first half against the Browns, and then they kind of went away from him. Going against Philly, I do think that's a good matchup. I think that's a game that Joe Burrow can get his first ever win on, frankly. So I think that's a good one.
I thought Mixon looked great against us, too. I was surprised they went away from him in the second half. He had great burst. He's scary every time he gets the ball. So, and it's an incredible week in the NFL as we will get to the scores coming up at the bottom of the next hour. At the top of the next hour, we hit you with your keys to victory for a Browns win over the Washington football team. That is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for my great friends at Weather Seal Home Services. They simply offer the best roofing system in the industry. If you have any of these symptoms, it may mean you're due for a new roof. Water spots on your ceiling, warped, buckled, or algae on shingles, damaged, flashing, or termite damage. Any of those things, probably time for a new roof. And right now, for just $1 down plus low monthly payments, you get a new roof plus free gutters. I've thrown them in. Weather Seal help makes your new roof affordable too. 7 years and zero interest on that. Call 877-351-SEAL or visit weathersealhomeservices.com. The sale ends at the end of this month, but there's still a little bit of time here. Approved credit and prior sales are excluded. Again, that is 877-351-SEAL. Of course, visit weathersealhomeservices.com. All right, time for your Keys to Victory, brought to you by University Hospitals, the official healthcare partner of your Cleveland Browns. Your Keys to Victory. Dr. Z. Yeah, you're on.
Thank you. Good. Thank you. Appreciate the confirmation. My keys to victory are pretty simple. Number one, protect Baker Mayfield. We cannot let that Washington defensive line wreck this game like they did in Philadelphia or against Philadelphia to beat the Eagles. It was a matter of you've got to protect, give Baker time, keep him clean, get that run game going, but just don't let them wreck the game. That's one. Number two, on the other side, get them in obvious passing situations. We've talked about what you got to do to deal with McLaurin, and whether that is double him wherever he goes and dare somebody else to beat you. Well, we don't know. It's a little bit of a different story now that we don't know about Denzel's status for the game. But stop McLaurin. Focus. Keep doing what you've been doing against the run. You've been holding opposing running backs at 2.9 yards per carry. Ingram, Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Mixon. People on teams who run the ball significantly more effectively than the football team does. And then you get them in third and longs. Take advantage of their line. Their line is not good. Their line is injured. Get to the quarterback. When you get around Haskins, completion percentage falls off the face of the earth down to 25%. And they're the worst third down team in the NFL. So get them in third downs. Pin your ears back. Go get them. I need the six sacks and turnovers combined. Go get them. And then finally, speaking of turnovers, just take
real
care.
Real quick on that.
Yeah.
Before you get to your third point, I just wanted to clarify, if Denzel is trending out, which this not coach's words, our words.
Yep.
Trending out, and you're a nickel. Who's out there? Where are they at?
I believe if Denzel Ward is out, and we are in nickel, it will look like on one side, probably staying at his right cornerback spot would be Money Mitch. Left cornerback would be Kevin Johnson. Nickel would be MJ Stewart.
Okay.
That's what I think it will look like this week. And then when we get into big dime, it'll be those three plus Ronnie Harrison will come in.
Yep, absolutely. Speaking of people who need to have a big impact in this game, Myles Garrett certainly would be applying to that. Here he is at the podium.
Questions?
You guys are down.
First one will be from Mary Kay Cabot.
Hey, Myles. We forgot to ask you about the best part of your sack last week, and that was that you got to send $5,000 to Waterboys for that, right? So how happy were you about that?
It's amazing. I know it's going to a good cause, and people are going to get a lot out of it. I'm hoping to have a couple wells built off of this season now. Not what to have, but it's got to take it one game at a time. The second best part was a little tribute to Chadwick Boseman with my celebration. I know I was a little bit amped after the first one, but after I settled down, I gave him a little sack celebration tribute. And those two things, they mean a lot.
Good. But are those are the kinds of plays that, even coming into this season, that's the kind of thing that you're talking about, right? Not just, not just a sack, but a strip, change the game, affect the game, and be a huge reason why you guys win, right?
Yeah, I want to be a part of the reason we win every game. So we're going to need more of those and more frequent. So just seeing how I can be disruptive, whether I'm getting in there, getting those sacks or pressures, or I'm taking on 2-3 guys and have my guys get free and getting those sacks and big time plays.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Nate Ulrich, you're up.
Hey, Myles, you've called for justice for Breonna Taylor with us here on Zoom before and on social media. We talked to some of the players yesterday, Odell and Jarvis, about the decision, and I was wondering if you had any thoughts you wanted to share about it.
I believe the decision isn't right. And I think all three of the officers should have been held accountable for their actions. It's just a shame. It's a shame. I don't think their actions, the way they chose to go about things, and the result of her losing her life, I don't see how they can come off, or at least two of them come off scot-free and not be judged or held accountable for the death of someone who was, in my eyes, innocent of any wrongdoing in that time. And so anybody barging through someone's home when one, there are different accounts of whether they announce themselves or not. I don't think it shouldn't be right for him to shoot at someone coming into his house when him to be held account for someone shooting at someone coming into his house when he doesn't know that someone's coming. Now, I don't think he had any wrongdoing. I don't think he was drug dealing. I believe that was her ex-boyfriend. So them, barging in and him have the right to defend his home and the people in it, and then them shooting back, through the walls, and not knowing really what they're aiming at. That all the missed shots that were fired, all the shots that could have hit anybody else in the complex. I just don't see how that's safe protocol. I don't see how you can't have you can't hold these guys accountable for wrongdoing, with how they handled that situation. Am I a police officer? No. I always say I hold these guys in high regard because they do a job that most of us couldn't. But just like in our line of work, if you're not able to do the job in strenuous situations, if you're not able to do it with the best of them, you shouldn't be here. And so we have to hold them accountable for making the right call just about every time. And those strenuous and stressful situations where their number is called and they have to make those tough calls, they have to make the right one. And if you can't, then we have to get someone who can. And they shouldn't be allowed to move from one place to another if they're not able to make those tough calls and get a second chance when we've seen their track record. We've seen what how they've handled situations before. So
I don't know.
It was tough. It was tough.
Sorry, Miles. Sorry. I don't know if anything's changed since yesterday. Jarvis and Odell had said that the Social Justice Leadership Committee hadn't really gotten together to talk about the ruling yet, but they hope to be able to talk about it kind of as a team, as a group. And I was just wondering, if anything's changed, if that has happened, or if you hope it will happen, or if there's anything that the Social Justice Leadership Committee will do as a tribute or as a result of that ruling, or if anything you'll do personally. Thank you.
It wouldn't be this game because we haven't had a chance to get together, talk, and plan on what we want to do for that. There's a lot of different ways we could pay tribute or get a message across because of the verdict that was given. So, we'll have a meeting and then do something in response to that.
Thank you. Our next question will be from Scott Petrick.
Hey, Miles, did you get anything out of that, or what did you get out of the meeting Tuesday? Joel said you guys met with the Cleveland police chief and some of the councilmen.
I know he was shining a positive light on all the things they've been doing to take positive steps and show that they don't want to have any more incidents than we've had in the past, and trying to maintain a healthy and consistent relationship with the communities that they deal with. And it was very positive. It had a lot of things going for them, but I wanted to hear about where they feel like they fall short, and how they feel like they can use us where they really need our help. There was a lot of things. It was a lot of talk about Tamir Rice and a couple of cases that happened years back, and how they've grown and evolved since then, and tried to put pressure on the force to change their ways and to interact with the people they serve differently. But life has changed since then, and it's changed rather quickly. With the injustice that's going on in America today, and how we trying to make a difference here. How we trying to start something that could lead to a domino effect that goes all throughout Ohio, and be kind of the example for other towns, cities, and states. So that's really what I wanted to hear about. And he was trying to talk about all the good things that they're doing, which they are doing a lot of good things, and they are setting a better example than most will give them credit for. And I appreciate him listening to the people who have made an effort to contact them and tell them what they need to improve on. And I just want to get the social justice committee together and ask them how they feeling and how we can fit in this plan, this scheme to make things better for all of us.
Thanks.
Next up will be Jeff Shadell.
Hey, Miles, when you look at Dwayne Haskins' numbers, they don't jump off the chart. But what do you see in him that makes him a good quarterback?
Not scared to scramble, not scared to, I guess, gamble either.
Get ready, guys.
He's a fearless young man. He's taught well. He gets the ball off quick. He tries to keep to his scheduled throws, a 3-step drive, get it out, 5-step drive, get it out. He doesn't try to take too long in the pocket. And sometimes he gets caught up. He sees things that are getting sat on, but for the most part, he's coming on pretty nicely, and I like how his game is developing. I think he has a promising career ahead of him, and so we have to just try and take advantage of those quick early ones and get him to those long third downs, which they don't like to allow him to have freedom on, and make him make those big throws that he hasn't had to make.
Okay, thanks.
You guys are up.
All right, good stuff from Miles there. Our great friend J.C. Tretter will join us next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Knowing one's limit is important, whether it's a snap count for a football player or spending limit when you're playing the lottery. So if you like to gamble, set a limit beforehand and stick to it. Want to learn more? Go to keepitfunohio.com for helpful tips on how to keep gambling fun. And with that, we head out on the fifth third money line. Our great friend, JC Tretter. We have not talked to JC in far too long. Far too long. JC, how you doing, bud? It's good hearing from you.
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Great.
We're hanging in. It's been a while. Are you over the way Thrones ended yet? Are you still bitter at all? I ask because I call my wife the mother of dragons because we have 3 little boys, and even in typing it to wish her happy birthday and call her the mother of dragons, some anger washed over me still. So I still harbor anger.
I think that will stay with me till death. I think that will.
Yep.
I'll always harbor a little disappointment, but hopefully time heals all wounds. Hopefully, eventually, that'll go away.
So, JC, while we may say that the ending of Game of Thrones was overrated and it didn't go the way we wanted it to, I feel like you are in a unique position now to declare that for a player of your aptitude and talents, training camp is overrated. Who needs training camp, right,
It's
JC?
overrated. You don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, luckily we got the procedure done, got the leg feeling better, and everything worked out. It was a tight window. Give a lot of credit to our training staff here in Cleveland for getting me on pace and on a plan to get me back to make sure I can get out there on Sundays.
And how are you feeling? 2 games in, it's one thing to say, yeah, I'm okay to go out there and practice. It's another thing to play a game. You've played 2 of them now flawlessly as per usual. How are you feeling, and do you feel like you've kind of turned the page where that's very much in your rear view?
Feeling good. Obviously, the quick turnaround on the Thursday game's always difficult, no matter what part of the season or what you're coming off of. That's just a really short window to get your body back. But the good thing was after that, you get that extra kind of 3 days off. And that helped a lot. That helped me kind of get over the hump, I think. And now everything's feeling really good.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. It's great to see you out there, buddy, and great to see what we've seen early from this offensive line play as a whole. Coach Callahan doing a fantastic job. I think Wyatt Teller has been a revelation to us the way that he has played, and Jedrick Wills coming along the way that he's come along. You guys all starting to put this thing together. What do you like about? I mean, you guys have had to gel on the fly too, because of course, as we've just said, you weren't there in camp, so this has had to come together in real time, and it looks like it really is doing a nice job of that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, both Jedrick and Wyatt are doing a great job, and they got plenty of work together. Joel and Jed got plenty of work together this training camp, and Wyatt and Jack. And then I've had plenty of experience with Joel and experience with Wyatt last year, so I wasn't that worried about sliding back into that center spot and working with everybody. And I think we could just continue to mesh better together the more we play together.
What's been the biggest difference that you've seen playing next to Wyatt Teller from last year to this year? Is it just the system fits him better? Or is it he's made some improvements? You're right there. What have you seen? Because he looks like a different player to us.
He's always been very strong. I think even this off season he put in a lot of work and got even bigger and stronger. And I think that shows on the field. I mean, he's doing a great job in pass protection. He's moving people in the run game. He's just playing really well this year.
Yeah, he really is. And Jedrick as well, specifically, we were there in camp, and for any left tackle, that's a tough spot to go from college to all of a sudden you're opposite Myles Garrett, and he had some days as well. But what we've seen the first 2 weeks has been really impressive. And we talked to Joe Thomas about it quite a bit, and he said, temper your expectations, but it's like a light switched for him, and he's been really great the first 2 weeks. What do you see from Jed? How's that chemistry going? And what do you like about him as a player, as a person?
Like him a lot. He's very smart. That's been nice to work with. And I think you'll just continue, similar as a whole of us all meshing together, I think you'll continue to see Jed make jumps each and every week just as he gets more comfortable. He's still transitioning from right tackle in college, and the more he does it, the more it becomes second nature, the better he'll become. So I'm excited to continue to see his growth as this year and time goes on.
So, JC, maybe it's a theory, I don't know. you had so much going on as the president. I feel like you didn't have time, president of NFLPA, to worry about training camp as well. You have two serious jobs. Learn this new offense, get ready to play, but also president of the NFLPA and a historic year. You probably thought the craziest part of your job was going to get in there and try to get this CBA done, and then we all know what's happened. As you just kind of reflect on that, and by the way, I hosted an event with Commissioner Goodell, and he was mentioning how The Rock bought the XFL, and I asked him, who's a tougher negotiator, The Rock or J.C. Tretter? And he laughed. He said, I haven't negotiated yet that much with The Rock yet, but I'd be stunned if he's a tougher or more shrewd negotiator than J.C. Tretter.
I mean, it was a long off season, a lot of work, and the goal was to bring football back and make sure we could, get up there on Sundays, but we had to do it safely. And I think the work we did together with the NFL, it's never an easy process, but I think we worked really well together. We put something that so far has worked really well, and we'll continue to make sure we make changes and adapt where we need to. But it was, like you said, it was a really, really busy off season, but in the end, it did what we wanted to, and that's making sure we could go out there and play.
And to have, how you see how important it is. You got to see 6,000 fans in Cleveland after playing in Baltimore with no fans, and the 6,000 in Cleveland. What were those two experiences like for you, and how satisfying was it to get that first win in front of 6,000 Browns fans?
Yeah, it was great. It was great to have fans back out there. Honestly, for me, coming from Cornell in college, 6,000 fans is more than I had in my home games anyway. So I think some of the Alabama guys were a little more thrown off by the quietness of the crowd. But I was used to a very sparse audience in my college career, so that wasn't a worry of mine. But in all seriousness, it was great to have the fans back out there cheering, and it was amazing how much noise they were able to make for just being at that level of capacity. I think they still found a way to make a difference and give us a home field advantage.
Was it weird in Baltimore?
Yeah, essentially that was the first time you're out there. There's no preseason this year, so that's kind of the first time you're in that environment. Feels a lot like a practice, but obviously we know these count. And I think the weirdest is during the TV timeouts, when there's really, you're standing there for 3 minutes, there's no noise, you're kind of just waiting. I think that's kind of the weirdest moments of the game when there's no fans out there.
Yeah, man, I bet that it is. One of the coolest moments we've seen so far this season was in the fourth quarter against Cincinnati, when I think everybody knew you guys were going to run it. Cincinnati knew you were going to run it. The 6,000 in the fans knew you're going to run it. The millions watching on TV, you're going to run it, and you just ran it right down their throat, with right behind you guys with Hunt and Chubb, and away you went. And it just felt like it was 9 yards a clip is what it felt like on TV on that drive that went 6 plays and got the touchdown and really helped put the game away. What did that mean to you guys as a team, as an offensive line? What type of confidence does that build to be able to do something like that when you need to in the fourth quarter?
Right. Like you said right there, you're always going to come to that moment in the game where they know you're going to run, but you have to be able to run. And those are always moments for an offensive line that you have to execute. You have to do your job. You have to execute the play called. And it's always a confidence boost when you can go out there on your first attempt in that 4-minute situation and do what you're supposed to do and keep churning out first downs and end up pushing them in the end zone.
So this is something I was curious about. I've seen some people talk about this on Twitter. As the center, you are the quarterback of that offensive line. You make a lot of calls and a lot of checks throughout the course of a game. When you're in a quiet environment, those things are picked up on much more and are audible much more than they would be with 70,000 fans. Is that something you guys have had to think about and say, we maybe need to change checks on a week-to-week basis because it's so much easier, certainly for a TV audience, to pick up on things that otherwise would go unheard?
Yeah, we do that every year. It takes a little longer during a season when there's a lot of noise because not every one of your calls gets picked up. But we usually track the ones that do get picked up during a regular season. This year, it happens faster because 2 games in, there's nothing stopping people from hearing everything you're saying. So you do the same things, just a kind of a quicker turnaround where you make some changes in the calls, you make some dummy calls, you slide in, some calls when they're not real, just to make people not be as clear of what each call means. So it's always a chess match, and you kind of go in the week with a little plan of how you're going to cover up your private language so people can't decode it.
The game within the game. I love it.
Indeed, and a fun one this week with Washington, and obviously a great defensive line that you'll be facing. JC, get you out of here on this one. 5 first-rounders on that line. Obviously, this will be a battle of strength versus strength with our offensive line against their defensive line.
Yeah, no, I think they have a lot of talent there. They have a lot of talent. They're transitioning to that 4-3, and like you said, a bunch of first-round picks there. They have a lot of strength in that front seven. And that'll be the matchup to watch. We'll have to go out there and do what we're preparing to do. I think we did a really great job last week with against Cincinnati, where we protected Baker really well, and then we opened up holes in the run game. And that's obviously our goal every week, is to execute those two goals. So, like you said, it's going to be a battle. They're a good team coming here with a lot of talent up front, and we'll fight to be up to the challenge.
JC, your time is valuable. We thank you so much for giving us a little bit of it on a Friday, buddy. We miss you.
No problem. Great talking to you guys again.
Our great buddy, JC Tretter there, joining us on the Fifth Third Money Line. A reminder, all guests who appear on CBD via the Fifth Third Money Line, Fifth Third Bank making Cleveland Browns daily a Fifth Third better. Time for the scores.
Pay attention.
Cleveland Browns daily. 8:50, ESPN Cleveland. Are you a sports fan looking for a part-time weekend job? Get into the action at First Energy Stadium, home of your Cleveland Browns. Wes is now hiring for part-time event staff and security. Apply online at weshiring.com. Time for a little segment we like to call The Scores.
We might have to move a little quick here today.
To the scores. Don't threaten us, Gibby.
It's 2:35. We got to go.
I know. We got to zip.
But you got to drop what you're doing when El Presidente calls in.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
We'll always have time for JC.
Exactly. All right, here we go on a Friday, Week 3 edition of The Scores. How about the Chicago Bears? 2-0, Mitchell Trubisky. The Bear train rolls into Atlanta to battle the winless Falcons. Zegura, lead things off and tell us something.
Well, let me tell you
Talk
something.
now.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. Right now, the Atlanta Falcons, they're reeling. They wanted a piece of the mania, and they got it. But they forgot. They may have 20-inch pythons, but they forgot about the 10 yards. The ball doesn't have to go 10 yards if you're covering the onside kick. They forgot. There's got to be a hangover there. Am I wrong? I know they can put up points, but there's got to be a hangover. Their defense not getting it done. I actually like the Bears for Ditka. Bears 27, Falcons 24.
No Iron Mike Ditka on this team. No tight end threat. I think it's a little bit of a mirage for Mitchell Trubisky and the boys.
Oh, God!
Falcons rebound. Wow. Atlanta, the Dirty Birds, with Jeff George in attendance on his feet with a nice win.
I didn't have that information.
27-23. 27-23. Jeff George is going to be at the game.
Well, then I have to take the Falcons. When the greatest Falcon of all time comes into the house.
How did you find this?
You've got to take it.
I just made it up.
He made it up, but he said it emphatically.
I bought it. I believed you. I followed up. Strong.
Jeff George is the only one in attendance by himself.
Be great. He has that kind of power, that clout.
Yeah, no question.
I love it. All right, on to game number 2 on Sunday, Week 3. 0-2 Cincinnati, traveling to 0-2 Philly. It is panic time in the city of brotherly love. Carson Wentz, knock, knock, knock. Time to show up. Eagles, Bengals, Beau, we kick it off with you.
Miles Sanders going to have himself a bit of a game, I do believe, for Philly. They're not great. They're a problem. It's a bit of a dumpster fire there. Cincinnati, however, up front, and as you saw against us, you can run it on them. I think Philly will. I think Philly wins big, 17-15.
You got to pay attention to the scores. I was going to go. I already had this ready. Don't need to do it. Same. Let's go.
On to game number 3. It does not get any easier for the Houston Texans. The gauntlet continues. Week 1, Kansas City. Week 2, Baltimore. This week, a trip. I die. A trip to Renegade Land.
Pittsburgh.
The Pittsburgh Steelers playing host to the Texans as I die right here. Zegura, what say you?
Gibby, are you okay?
Gibby, water.
I'm all right. I'll be fine. Where's my
Just
water?
like the Houston Texans, it seems like Gibby needs resuscitation right now. They're 0-2. Gibby got trounced in over-under and now feeling the physical effects of that beating. I don't know. I think it's too much. I think the Texans are wounded and the Steelers smell the blood in the water. Like a great white shark, Big Ben will open his jaws and clamp down on the hapless Texans. Steelers 30, Texans 17.
Same.
All right, let's go on. The Raiders are 2-0. Gruden and company going to New England to take on Cam Newton, Bill Belichick, his holy sweatshirt from 2000, and the New England Patriots. Bishop, the floor is yours.
New England looking good. Cam throwing it all over the place. 400 yards against Seattle. Doesn't matter who the running backs are. Doesn't matter who they're throwing to. Cam's a one-man wrecking crew. But little Chucky Gruden going up into New England. Making him sweat a little bit. Making him sweat a little bit. He is a grinder. Josh Jacobs running it. New England wins 19-14.
Just when you thought You had the answers. Beau Bishop changes the questions. And I'll tell you what, Beau, I like your setup once again. And I have to say, I agree with you. Chucky, lighter in the wallet. A little bit upset about that 350 large out from the Raider Empire. But that's okay. Because, yes, the Patriots, they have looked good, but they really don't have a ton of talent. They're going to give Darren Waller that formation where they put the gunners on him, 2 of them. And what? Who is that streaking down the side? He's so it's Henry Ruggs. He finally makes an appearance. And in the first touchdown of his National Football League career, gives the Raiders the win 3-0 in Vegas. The slots are emptying. 24-23.
The slots are just loose.
Oh, boy. All right. On that note, we move on. 2-0 Los Angeles. The Rams heading east. Oh, it's time for table slams. The perfect weather for a few table slams. The Buffalo Bills playing host to the Rams. Bills without a running back. Jared Goff and the Rams need to keep pace with the rest of the NFC West. Zegura, what say you?
I actually expected this one to be perhaps even for the scores. And it was just, hey, just pick a winner. It's a coin flip.
Pick a winner.
But is it? I don't know. I like what the Bills have been doing. Stephon Diggs has added a new element. Josh Allen right now looking like an MVP candidate. But the Rams are very, very good in their own right. But are they good enough? West to east. We've already said it worked for the Raiders. I'm not so sure for the Rams. Bills 23. Rams 20.
Zegura?
Wrong.
Or Beau, I mean.
Bills 29. Ram it 28.
Wait, what?
Yes, pay attention to scores, Gibby.
Up next, gentlemen, the 49ers. A nice, relaxing week at the Greenbrier. You know, taking their MASH unit back to New York. Well, actually, not even New York. To New Jersey. It's not even, it's like a big slap in the face. You don't even get to go to New York. Nah, you get to go to Jersey. Yep, it's back-to-back weeks on the same
beautiful
turf.
this time of year.
Giants
Morristown?
and Niners. Bishop?
You know, Z brought this up earlier this week. I thought it was such a salient point on the Coach's Show, talking with Coach about identifying culture. And it was such a great question out of you and how you've witnessed it at a place like Ohio State where you've covered that team. And I think culture goes a long ways. And they are a very long time. And when you think about a winning culture, I see the San Francisco 49ers, and as I like to call him, my personal friend, the gangster, Kyle Shanahan.
You guys really bonded when he was here back in 2014.
We were very close.
Very close. You
wear
contemplated
flat-bill
getting
hats.
a tattoo, but I'm glad you
I
held
did.
off
I
on that.
did.
His time here was
No.
short-lived. So
would have been a bad example for Bootsy. Niners 17, Giants 11.
Culture is great, but you need to have your culture, your standard bearers. There will be no Jimmy Garoppolo. There will be no Raheem Mostert. There will be no George Kittle. There will be no Richard Sherman. There will be no Nick Bosa. There will be no Solomon Thomas. No Dre Greenlaw. I don't know. But the Niners, the culture, it leads them to victory. But Danny Dimes finds Darius Slayton with 30 seconds on the clock.
Oh, no.
Niners, 20. Pedro, happy. Giants, 17. Pedro's son, happy.
Up next. The Titans are 2-0, and they travel to the land of Cole, Britton Cole, and the 0-2 Vikings. Must-win game for Kirk Cousins and company.
Sad.
The Vikings playing host to the Titans. Zegura, you're itching to go.
Cole has already had to punt twice after a safety. Twice this year. He's had to do. He's in kickoff stats because of safeties. No, Tennessee, they get it done. The Vikings in shambles. MVD, it's Panic City, it's pandemonium. They're asking us to leave the Mall of America. We don't want you here anymore.
On the streets.
We don't want your negativity. Titans, 24. MVD, sad, 7.
Sorry.
All right. Moving along here on a Friday, the Carolina Panthers. They are 0-2, and they are taking on the LA Chargers, 1-1. on this young football season. The Chargers playing host, Carolina going west. Beau, definitely a candidate for the inmate game of the week. Tyrod Taylor,
Oh, but it's a
punctured lung and all,
beautiful.
will probably not play. It's a mess.
No, I would say not. It's a beautiful game on television, though. All of those
Yes.
shades of glorious blue. Justin Herbert spinning it around. As Z has pointed out, Mr. Kelly with a big game. Eckler with a big game. The buzz for Herbert continues. But then, oh, wait. Oh, what is that? Is there a commotion at the back door? Is someone knocking? Does he have two gloves on?
Is it Theodore?
Is he a quarterback with two gloves? Chargers, 27. Carolina, 21.
The theme song for the Panthers this year. You have to go back to the New Kids on the Block. Whoa, hanging tough. Saints.
That just happened on this show. All right.
Same.
Wheels officially off at 2:45. Can't believe it didn't happen earlier.
Plenty of time left.
The 0-2 New York Jets, the worst team in the NFL, except in the eyes of whatever power ranking we had earlier in the week. The Jets are 0-2. They travel to Indianapolis, fresh off their first win of the year. 1-1 Colts, 0-2 Jets. Bishop, what say you?
Did you see what Gay said this week? Who's going to play? Whoever has a pulse. That's
where we're at.
I mean, you want to talk the wheels off. The wheels are off with the Jets. They've got nobody out there. Indy's not great, but they can win this 20-7. Give me the Colts.
I'm mad at Frank Reich right now. I'm mad at him. Naeem Hines, week 1, all these touches, 8 catches, 7 carries, 100 total
Jonathan
yards,
Taylor.
2 touchdowns. I
told
knew
you.
Jonathan Taylor was going to be there, but Hines, just have a roll. Can you just give me 5 fantasy points total in a half PPR league for a victory? No, you can't do that. You're going to give me 0.9. So for that reason,
Bupkis.
Reich, I'm rooting against you. Jets, 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 Colts, 20, Jets, 10.
Up next, it's America's game, according to Fox. That's what they'll tell you at
It
least.
is.
The Cowboys traveling to Seattle. Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott. Can I interest you in a little 425 love on a Sunday afternoon?
On one hand, this is a Cowboys team that was getting boat raced by the Falcons.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
And
this is
was
a Cowboys
boat raced
team.
by the Rams.
This is a Cowboys team that came back and won that game. And then you have Seattle, who gave up 480,000 passing yards to Cam Newton when the only person whose name on that team, either running or catching the ball, that I recognize is Julian Edelman. So I think this is going to be high scoring, like jump over the rainbow.
Well over the rainbow.
Well over the rainbow, and you land in Seattle. Russ is too good. He finds a way. He's down 4 with the ball, and he goes and he scores. Seattle wins it 32-30. 29.
Wait, which one is it, Smalls?
Doesn't matter for the
Seattle,
scores.
57. Dallas, 51.
All right, we got to fly through these next two before we get to the meaningful games. Detroit traveling to Arizona. Detroit 0-2. The Cardinals 2-0. The Lions just a mess, Bishop.
Cards, 31. Lions, 26.
Wrong. I can fly Kyler than
Love
an
when I say we have to move it along and he
eagle.
starts singing.
Because he is the wind beneath my wings. Kenyon Drake,
really is.
Kyler, Hop, they go bananas. Cliff, he's eating Barrio Queen. Feet up. The fire's going outside at his beautiful Scottsdale State as they watch the highlights of a Cardinal victory, 34-27.
Up next, Tampa Bay. Tom Brady and company traveling to the
Bucks,
Mile
a billion.
High City. What's that?
Bucks a billion.
Next.
Bucks by a billion.
Good call. Let's go to Sunday Night Football. Packers, Saints at the Dome in New Orleans. Bourbon Street, no social distancing. Rock on.
Tell me why are the Packers an underdog?
I don't know.
So it seems too obvious. That means rumors of the Saints' demise greatly exaggerated. Breeze looks like he can't throw the ball more than 5 yards. Pet, he's going to stack the box. But yet somehow everybody in the world is going to be on the Packers because this doesn't make any sense. Saints win it somehow, some way, 24-20.
No, Packers. 31. Nola, 30.
That's what my head says, but in this one, I just feel like it's too obvious.
I know. That got you the last time. Remember you did that?
No, I went against it. I said it was Philly Rams. I went against it, and I said it makes no sense.
Wasn't it us Bengals last week?
That was, but you know where my true head was at.
All right.
No, I know.
Final one, and it's the biggest one of the week. Monday Night Football, Kansas City traveling to Baltimore. Supposedly the top two teams in the AFC, if not the National Football League. Here we go. Let's go, Zegura.
Boy.
It's so big, we should save it for Monday.
Yes.
Cleveland Browns Daily.
Aboard.
850. ESPN
So much more to come.
Are you on the injured list? We can help you get back into the game. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk, a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Just a pure joy football Friday.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
you're on. How about Browns therapy today?
Browns there,
I mean,
bravo.
this is like Kopach's no-hitter.
Bravo.
What a job. What a job at a Browns therapy
Might
today.
even be
That was a
perfect
tour de
game.
force. Felt like it. All right, our game. What do you got, sir?
This is the one. Again, it's important how it looks, especially for the defense. The defense does its job. Browns 27, football team 13.
I'm right in the same area. Yep, 34-14, 34-17, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Score some points. Take advantage of it. Act accordingly. And we'll see you going to Big D next week, which would be a fun one. Let's get to 2-1.
Let's do it.
Let's get to 2-1. A little bit of a winning record. Let's get that done. Next level up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.